Hi everyone, I'm aware that the lighting is slightly, I'm not going to say terrible, I'm going to say cozy. I've been away most of this week and haven't had a chance to film apart from now when it's dark, and I thought even though the lighting isn't great, it'd be better to film and upload than not film at all, and I hope that you agree. I've been going through the comments that you left on my Christmas gift guide video. There are pages of notes like this where you had been asking me for book recommendations for specific people in your life. So you were saying, Jen, there's someone in my life, they like these things, what would you recommend? I have two piles of books here, rather large piles of books, and I'm going to make some recommendations now. There were more recommendations than I can get to in this video, but don't worry, if I don't recommend something to you here, I will be going back to that previous video and replying to all of the comments there as well. I will link all of the books that I mentioned in the description box down below, and if you're watching this and you didn't leave a comment last time, but you're still looking for a recommendation, a bookish recommendation for someone in your life, leave a comment on this video and I'll reply in the comment section. So let's see. First off, Anna Goldberg said, Dear Jen, I'm looking for a book for my husband's grandma. She loves long historical epics such as All the Light We Cannot See. So for her, I recommend Kate Atkinson's Life After Life. This is a book where one person is reliving their life over and over again during the 20th century, and you see all of the ways that her life could have panned out. Next, Dennis Floors says, I need a recommendation for someone who loves nature, the ocean, and whimsical stories written by women. Not whimsical stories, but written by women and about the sea and nature. This is Salt on Your Tongue, Women and the Sea by Charlotte Runcie. And this is all about women's connections with the sea, why female writers have been drawn to write about it in the past. So it's part memoir and then part research, which is my favorite kind of non-fiction book, I think. Beth says that she's looking for a book to take to an office Christmas party, so I'm assuming that she's doing some kind of Secret Santa. I really like gifting these books to people, both people that I know and think would really like them, but I also think that they're good gifts for people who you don't know that well, because I think most people would really enjoy them. And they're books by Ella Francis Sanders. This one here called Speaking in Tongues, Curious Expressions from Around the World, and Lost in Translation, an illustrated compendium of untranslatable words from around the world. So this is as it sounds, and each page has a beautiful illustration and then the definition of a word, or the rough definition of a word, given that these are words that technically are very difficult to translate into English. So for instance, one of these words is the Inuit word for going out to see, going outside to see if anyone is coming. There is a Japanese word, which I've forgotten what it is now, but it's the name for buying books that you're not reading and letting them pile up. I think we've all experienced that somewhat, but I just think that these are really, really lovely, as I said, for people who maybe you want to buy something beautiful for, but you don't really know what their specific interests are. Veliana says she's looking for a book for her mother, not one that's to do with sadness or grief, but to do with travel, cooking, gardening, or dogs. Sarah Moss is not a fan of dogs, so the last one does not apply, but the rest of them I would say do. Maybe not gardening so much, but definitely travel and cooking, and it's just heartwarming, and I don't remember it being sad or dealing with grief. So this is Names for the Sea, Strangers in Iceland by Sarah Moss. It's a non-fiction book about the year that she spent living in Iceland, learning about all of its history, about its current politics, about cooking and food, and the stories that are ingrained into all of the landscape that surrounded them. And I really recommend this one to loads of different people, so I think it's quite a safe bet as one to gift to somebody. Mariana says she's looking for a book for someone who loves nature, paleontology and fishes, and they also enjoy historical fiction. Now this sounds like almost too good of a match, so if they've already read it, let me know and I'll recommend something else. But this is Remarkable Creatures by Tracy Chevalier, which is about Mary Anning at the turn of the 19th century, who was a budding paleontologist. She discovered the ichthyosaur and lots of other things at Lyme Regis, and it's about her unearthing these fossils, her relationship with someone called Elizabeth Philpott. It's got William Buckland in here too. Yes, so I think this one definitely one that you should be gifting. Ina says that she's looking for a gift for her brother who likes fantasy, especially The Name of the Wind. What new fantasy might he enjoy? You could try The Parentations by Kate Mayfield, and I'll link it down below if you want to go find out more. And you could also try this, which isn't as new but is brilliant. This is Arcadia by Ian Pearce, one of my favourite fantasy books ever, and a bit of an homage to his Dark Materials if he's read that and really liked it. Not that he has to have read it to read this one. This is about travelling into books and into other worlds and time travel, and there are so many different threads that are woven together so beautifully. Jana says, can you recommend a good crime, thriller or mystery that isn't too popular? As you know, I've been falling in love with Nikki French recently. They are not someone who isn't popular, but this is their latest book, which is The Lying Room. It only just came out, so it's a safer one to buy for somebody because they're less likely to have it. This is about a woman who was having an affair with someone who was murdered, and no one knew that she was having this affair. She goes into the flat where they often meet up and finds him there dead, and she has to make a decision. Is she going to clear away all of the evidence at the crime scene so that no one knows she's been there at other times and therefore the affair isn't revealed? Or does she call the police and help them find out who murdered the person that she loved and expose herself as someone who's had an affair? It's really good, and I really do like crime / thrillers where the police are not really at the center of the story, so you just stay with her, and it's really fast paced, so much happens. Yes, I enjoyed that one. And one that is probably less well known but is quite beloved on BookTube is Lullaby by Layla Slimani. It's about a nanny who has murdered the 2 children that she is looking after, and you go back, it's more a character study than a really fast paced crime thriller, but I really loved it. Someone is looking for a gift for their mother-in-law who loves Nicholas Sparks books. I would recommend Rachel Joyce. These are her 2 books. She has more than 2, but I'd particularly recommend these 2. This is The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry and The Love Song of Miss Queenie Hennessy. You can really read these in either order because they actually take place at the same time and you're just seeing 2 people's perspectives. But I would recommend beginning with The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. Harold Fry lives in, I can't remember if it's Cornwall or Devon. And then he receives a letter to say that an old friend of his is dying in Northumberland, and he decides to walk all the way up to her, and you just follow his journey and also learn about their past as he's walking and thinking on his memories. They are heartbreaking, but they are beautiful. Adawi says she's looking for a gift for her sister who loves true crime series and Studio Ghibli films. I tried to marry these 2 things together and couldn't think of something off the top of my head. If she hasn't listened to West Cork on Audible, it's one of their original podcasts, then I definitely recommend that you get her to listen to that. If she doesn't have Audible, you could, I suppose, maybe gift her a month subscription or something so that she could listen to it. But for the Studio Ghibli, I recommend this, which is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valenti. And I've recommended this so many times, but for good reason. It is exactly like reading a Studio Ghibli film. It is gorgeous. It's about a young girl called September who's swept off to fairyland on the back of a green wind. And the language is rich. It honestly is a feast for the imagination. She needs this in her life, as do all of us. Next up, someone says they need a gift for their sister who's interested in fantastical, magical books, especially mermaids. Nothing too taxing, please. I would recommend The Gracekeepers by Kirsty Logan, or any of Kirsty's books, really. They are all magical, inspired by fairy tale in parts, and often deal with mermaids in some form. Not really in an overt way, but in a way that mermaids and people could be the same thing. So this is a book about a young woman called North who exists in a flooded world. She lives on a circus boat with her bear, who she often dances with, and it's about her relationship with someone called Calendish, who is a gracekeeper. So yes, this one is very, very beautiful and ticks all of those boxes. Next up, someone says that they want a recommendation for someone who loved Heartstopper. Must be mushy and adorable. Now, I haven't read this, but I bought it this week, and I bought it because Lex over at Lex Croucher, a friend of mine, has been raving about this book. She absolutely adores it. It is called Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and it is about, I don't even know what it's about too much, I just know that she loved it. It says what happens when America's first son falls in love with the Prince of Wales. There you go. And I think it is supposed to be completely adorable and something that you're going to fall in love with. I'm imagining something along the lines of all of the Remus and Sirius fan fiction that I used to read back in the day. So this one, maybe, take it not from me, but from Lex, but it is a book I plan to read over the holidays because I'm hoping it will make my heart warm. Next up, Anukarika says that they want book recommendations about characters like Bella Baxter and Orlando. So I had, two, but I put them further down. Here we go. So Bella Baxter in Poor Things is a character who, depending on the version that you want to believe, because there are two perspectives in that book, is somebody who has had the brain of a child put inside her skull, and therefore she has been brought back to life, but in a very different way to how she used to live before. And Orlando is somebody who travels through time, changing gender whenever they wake up. So I recommend one book that is also inspired by Frankenstein, like Poor Things, and that is Frankenstein by Jeanette Winterson. This came out this year, and it is split into two time periods. One of them is about Mary Shelley, who was writing Frankenstein, and then one of them is set at an AI convention in the modern or close to modern day, and it's all about gender and bodies and how we want to control those things as a society. And the other one that I would recommend is The Accidental by Ali Smith, because one of the main characters in here, Amber, is somebody who is quite fluid in the sense that she just molds into whatever situation she finds herself in, and she invades the life of this family, saying that she feels as though she has been created, a narrative that's been created through all of the stories that have come before, and she invades their lives and tries to bring them back together because they have drifted quite far apart. So for that reason, I would also recommend this. And then you also wanted book recommendations for your mother, who started a feminist book club about history and feminism. So I'd recommend A Lab of One's Own by Patricia Farrer, which I read this month and is about women and the suffrage movements up to the First World War, and then the role of women during the First World War and what happened once the First World War ended. I just said First World War many times. I reviewed this on Toast, so I'll link it down below if you'd like to go and find out more. And then this is one, oh no, I've picked up the wrong one. This is Daddy's Gone A-Hunting. Though actually I could recommend this one too. I was going to recommend No Surrender by Constance Maud, which was first published in 1911 and is about the suffrage movement and is based on the lives of real working class women at the time. But this one is Daddy's Gone A-Hunting by Penelope Mortimer. Both of these books are published by Persephone Books, and this one is set in the 1950s. Think Desperate Housewives, but set in the 1950s, and it also tackles themes of abortion. So yes, I would recommend those, and Persephone Books in general is a really great place to go if you're looking for historical books about women and the suffrage movement and proto-feminism and feminism, all of that. They're brilliant. Oh, I forgot, I also picked up another one. You're getting lots of recommendations for this one. I'd also recommend The Mistresses of Cliveden, which is 3 centuries of scandal, power and intrigue. This is about the 5 women who lived at Cliveden House, and they all had extraordinary stories to tell, and it's set over many centuries. I'll link it down below if you would like to go and find out more. Laura asked for recommendations of lesser known plays. I've recommended these two a lot on this channel, but I still think they are very much lesser known plays. The first one is The Seer by Ali Smith. I was going to say it's her only play published. It's not. There is another one, but it's inside an anthology of other writings by other people. This one I'm not even sure if you can get anymore. I don't know why it's out of print. You may be able to pick it up secondhand. If I can find a copy online, I'll link it down below. If not, you could go hunt for it yourself. But this is a brilliant play which really breaks down the fourth wall, and I love it a lot. And then another one is Peter and Alice by John Logan. It looks at what could have been the conversation that Peter Llewellyn Davies, who was the real life Peter Pan, and Alice Liddell, who was real life Alice in Wonderland, what that conversation would have been like when they met each other, because they did meet each other. We just don't know what they said. So it's about those two meeting, their discussion of Charles Dodgson, who is Lewis Carroll, and J.M. Barrie. And it will make you cry, but I promise that it is worth it. Charles says that she's looking for a present for her boyfriend who loves philosophy and sport. I highly recommend Fox Tossing, Octopus Wrestling, and Other Forgotten Sports, the most dangerous and bizarre sports in history. This is informative and also hilarious, and if he likes sports, then I'm sure that he will really love this. Next, Rena says she's looking for a gift for an art student who's interested in LGBT issues, disability, and childhood whimsy. For that, I recommend the Encyclopedia of Early Earth by Isabel Greenberg. One, because this is a graphic novel and you said that your friend is an art student, so I think they'll really love, hopefully will love, the art style in here. Also, this is a queer story and it is about a woman who is telling stories in the night to try and save her partner. And that is where the childish whimsy comes into it a little bit, because it's all about a love of stories and it's all about creation myths as well. So I would, I just hit my hat. I would very much recommend this one. Next up, Flyby Reads says they would like a book to read aloud with their partner, shortest chapters, bonus points for fantastical elements, and alternating perspectives. This one was a fun one. I'm ticking all the boxes apart from the fantastical elements. This is Disobedience by Naomi Alderman. This is about two women who were in love with each other when they were teenagers and then they were separated, and one of them lives in New York but comes back and they meet again in their 30s, I want to say. They're called Ronit and SD, and they are part of a very Orthodox Jewish community in North London, and it's about how they feel when they meet each other again. It is tense, it is beautifully written, and it has those alternating perspectives as well. It has short-ish chapters, definitely not really long chapters. So yeah, that is my recommendation for that. Cheryl says that she would like books that will lure their 13 and 14-year-old granddaughters from their phones. Okay, around that age, I love the Doomspell trilogy. Around age 13, I should say, 12, 13, I love the Doomspell trilogy by Cliff McNish. Kind of like Narnia, but much darker and less religious. And then for the 14-year-old, I would recommend Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. I think I read the first one when I was 14 and then grew up with them as I went. And I would recommend this one at the moment because obviously it's on television right now, so maybe she'll be interested in it because of the television show. It's such a magical book to get lost in at this time of year. Next up, someone says they want a gift for their older sister who likes historical fiction, Hilary Mantel, etc. Something quite recent. So something that isn't that recent, but that I always recommend for people who like Hilary Mantel is The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. This is about a sex worker called Sugar who wants to become a novelist, and she becomes embroiled in the life of a man called William. It's loosely a retelling of Jane Eyre, very loosely. And speaking of that, I also want to recommend this, which is also inspired by Jane Eyre and is recent. It came out this year. It is The Confessions of Franny Langdon by Sarah Collins. And this, like Wide Sargasso Sea, is trying to give a voice to characters such as Bertha, who didn't have voices in Victorian literature. This is about a woman who's been accused of murdering her mistress. So let me put those there. Please stay. I thought they were going to fall over. And turn the page. Paul asks for a recommendation for his roommate who loves gardening and cooking. By far my favourite cookbook of this year has been The Green Roasting Tin. The recipes are easy and delicious. I've cooked most of the things in here and I've only had one dud, which is, I think, is a very good success rate for a cookbook. Catherine says she's looking for a gift for her boyfriend who likes Dostoevsky, read Autumn by Ali Smith too and loved it, and studies history. So if you loved Autumn, then I recommend Winter and also Spring, which are the next two books in her seasonal quartet. And if you enjoyed Ali Smith, I think he'll also love Lanny by Max Porter, which remains my favourite book of this year, and it's all about a young boy in a small commuter town and the gossip and all the things that knit them together. It's a little bit fantastical, it's beautifully written, rather strange, and I think Ali Smith and Max Porter's writing style really lend themselves to each other. So if he likes one, then he'll probably like the other. Emma says that she is looking for a gift for her stepmother who loves Tess Gerritsen. Do I have any recommendation? I mean, my go-to at the moment is recommending Nikki French, the Frida Klein series. If she hasn't read it, please get that for her. So I recommend Blue Monday, which is the first one. If she has read them, then maybe Sister by Rosamund Lupton, which I read quite a long time ago and remember enjoying. Catherine Allen says she's looking for a book recommendation for her 29-year-old brother who's into fantasy and is an earth scientist. So I recommend Robert Macfarlane's books. He writes about the earth so beautifully and the earth's secrets that it feels as though it's fantasy even though it's just non-fiction. So I recommend those books, particularly Underland, which I read recently and adored. If you would like something that is fantasy and also tied to the earth and is really dark, then maybe read this, which is, or gift this to him, which is The Beauty by Alia Whiteley, about a world where women exist in a very different way, as in fungus grows out of their bodies in the ground. Definitely not whimsical at all. Someone says they would like a recommendation for their 9-year-old granddaughter who loves reading and has read all of the babysitter books. I would recommend this, which is Tilly and the Book Wanderers. It's the first in the Pages & Co series by Anna James, which is about a young girl called Tilly who lives with her grandparents who own a bookshop, and she discovers that she can book wander, so she can travel into books, and it's delightful. So those are all the books that I had time to get to today. All of them will be linked down below if you would like to go find out more. If I didn't get the chance to recommend a book to you and you asked for a recommendation, don't worry, I'll reply to your comment in the previous video, giving you your recommendation there. And if you're watching this and you didn't ask for a recommendation last time, but you would like one now, leave a comment in this video and I will get back to you in the comment section. I hope you all have a great weekend and I'll speak to you very soon. Lots of bookish love. Bye.